You're listening to Mark of the Maker. Hey everybody, I'm Mark Steiner, and you're listening to Mark of the Maker. This is episode 118 of the show, and we have a guest with us. We'll get to that in just a second. I want to introduce Mr. Sean Kendrick.
Hey, hey.
And that's it.
That's it.
Michael has some family stuff going on. Or are they going to soccer tonight? They had a big soccer game they were going to or something.
Oh, dude, who's to say? Michael's been, captain activities.
Yeah. I
couldn't maintain that tempo, man.
He's been living the dad life in a hot and heavy kind of way. He's off there motoring around all over the place. So Michael's off, and Tom was going to join us. He had questions that he wanted to ask. He sent some to us. And his computer, he went to it today to make sure everything was working before we recorded, and he said his computer was like dead, won't turn on, can't seem to revive it. So he's got something that hopefully should help coming his way, and so he should be back with us next time. I think we're going to try to. We're late in getting out a Blade recap, right? Yep. So hopefully Tom can get that in place, and we can get a Blade Show recap episode out there. So. But this time we got an interview for you. But let's take care of some business first. You want to start us out, Sean?
Oh, yeah. Let's make the filthy lucre. So first off, I want to thank everybody who's a member at our Patreon. You guys keep the lights on. You keep the mics moving. You help this thing be possible. And we appreciate that. For you guys who aren't a member of Patreon, if you would consider going over there and maybe giving us $1 or $2 a month, we would certainly appreciate that. Every bit helps. This is a labor of love, and your guys showing a little bit of financial support really goes a long way to keep this thing happening. So you can just head over to patreon.com and search Mark of the Maker, and if you want to give us a few bucks, that would be cool. And if not, well, it's still going to be free, and we hope you enjoy the show.
That's right. Thanks, everybody, for your support. We really appreciate it. We got some folks who have been sticking around with us since a long, long time ago, so we surely appreciate it. We also want to say thanks to our friends from Giant Mouse Knives. They're at giantmouse.com. I think most of our listeners are familiar with them. They're a collaborative effort between Jens Anso and Jesper Vox and Jim Worth. And they've done a great job of getting some really cool designs together and getting them done basically in a production kind of setup. I think most of their stuff comes from Italy these days, but they got some cool stuff, and they're very proud to talk about it. They won Best Fixed Blade at the Blade Show this year. So for their GMF1 XL, it looks like, which is a really cool knife in N690 stonewash. You can get it in brass handle, green canvas, maybe more. And so go ahead and check them out at giantmouse.com. Oh, they have one without scales too. That's pretty cool. So you could wrap it. I guess it's a smaller version. Still cool. So go check those guys out. Giantmouse.com. They're also on Instagram at giantmouseknives. And we've talked for a long time about doing a giveaway thing with them. So we'll have to line up. Maybe we get one of these new fixed blades and get it out there. It'd be pretty cool. So thanks, fellas, for your support. We appreciate you.
Definitely. And great knives. Can't stress that enough. And somebody who makes great knives is Bob Terzuola. And you can head over to terzuola.net and get on the wait list for, I think this time out, it's the ATCF OG in black micarta or the ATCF OG in titanium. And while you're there, maybe pick up the Sharp Life video series, or maybe just check out the first 3 episodes in the video series for free. You can also get on the wait list for Bob's Shop Talk group, or you can switch over and check out the Knife Wife podcast with Bob and his wife Suze, and that's always a good time. So head over to terzuola.net and enjoy all that knifey goodness they got to offer. And that's terzuola.net.
Thanks, Bob and Suze. We appreciate you.
You guys rock. Our next sponsor is the Pacific Northwest Custom Invitational, or the Billy and Nick Show, as I call it around the house. This is a can't-miss show. It's a destination show, and it's probably the most fun show I've personally ever done. The town where they have it is just a great little town for touristy stuff while you're there. And this shows a love note from Billy and Nick to the rest of the community. They're really giving back. Every maker there has a great time. If you show up, you're going to have a great time. You like free stuff? Just going through the door, you're guaranteed to get some piece of free swag. That's actually worth having. Not just some fucking hinky-dinky throwaway shit, but you'll actually probably get a fairly decent knife, period.
Yep.
If you want to find out more about that, you can head over to pnwci.bigcartel.com, and I think that there are still tickets available. Yeah, still tickets available, although there aren't any VIPs available currently.
Yeah.
Although I've heard that may or may not change at some point if you keep your ear to the ground.
Allegedly,
yeah. Not that I would spread rumors.
it's coming up quick, Sean. When's the show?
Oh, shit, don't remind me, dude. July 20th.
I had to say it.
Yeah, well, thankfully, my flight's booked. I've just got to rent my car, and we'll be good to go.
There you go.
But yeah, head over to pnwci.bigcartel.com for all the info, a list of all the exhibitors, and ticketing information. And I'll see you guys there.
All right. And then we need to also say thanks to our newest sponsor, our friends at Knife Joy, knifejoy.com. And they always have a pretty broad selection of stuff over there. Lots of productions, lots of customs as well. Jade's at a bunch of shows and scoops up some stuff and brings it on back. So I saw a number of very interesting things over there. I think they might even have some of Michael's production project stuff in there. So go see them at knifejoy.com. They have a newsletter that you can subscribe to stay up to date on latest releases and see what comes home from shows with them. And if you get something from them, you buy a knife from them, you're immediately qualified for the Knife Joy Plus program. Sean, you're in the Plus program, right?
Most likely.
Yeah. That gets you early access to drops and exclusive deals. So thanks.
I'm much more underhanded than that.
You're in the secret Knife Joy Plus program.
Yeah. Double super secret
Knife Joy Plus. Okay. Folks might not be able to get that, but they can certainly sign up for Knife Joy Plus on the website. Go hit it and tell them thanks if you get a chance to chat with those guys for their support of the show, because we really appreciate it.
Most certainly.
All right, Sean, you want to introduce our guest? We've held him waiting for a long time, it feels like.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I've known our guest for quite a while now, probably since he was about 12 years old.
Oh, boy.
And he is a USMC veteran, a second-generation knife maker, and just an all-around great guy. He's my friend Jarrod Franklin. And Jarrod, welcome to the show, man. Good to have you on finally. It's been a long time coming.
Hey, thanks, guys. Hello, everybody.
I'm looking forward to lots of 12-year-old Jarrod stories, by the way.
Yeah, man. I still remember the very first day that I met Sean. I don't think my dad had told me anybody was coming to the house. So we lived out down an old country road and didn't get a lot of visitors. So when we did, it was kind of a spectacle. And Sean pulls up and I'm like, well, who is this dude? And he's like, is your dad around? And I'm like, yep, he's out in the shop. And Sean had come to talk knives with Dad and whatnot. I wasn't much around for what they did in the shop, but it was really cool meeting him, and I was like, damn, that dude's pretty cool.
I thought you were going to say, I met him at the door with the sawed off. He pulled out the AK. It was a standoff.
No, not quite like that.
Dude, back then he would have done a fucking Schwarzenegger commando roll with a 12 gauge.
Oh, yeah. We were... Back in those days, we were armed to the teeth and ready for whatever.
There you go. All right. Sorry, Sean, for interrupting.
No sweat. Man, give us an overview. Okay, we'll start with kind of where you are right now. Give us an overview of your quote-unquote brand, what you do, what your preferences are, and all that.
All right. So my brand is Gunfighter Customs. That name came to me just due to the fact that I was mainly making knives for Marine veterans, specifically ones that I had served with at 2nd Tank Battalion. And like they were really my only customers. So I thought that was fitting. And I wanted to make, purpose-built knives for any kind of outdoors, tactical, self-defense, EDC. And hell, when I started, I was doing all kinds of weird shit. I was making battle axes and just anything that these guys would come up with. And now more I'm focused on EDC and self-defense and outdoors type stuff. And I just try to make the best possible knives that I can at the best prices that I can, and make these knives so that these guys aren't afraid to beat on them. And that's what I want them to do. I want them to, beat the hell out of their knives and then come back to me and let me know how they do. And if there's any problems or, anything like that, to let me know so that I can keep putting out the best stuff that I can. So, I mean, that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Oh, succinct, man. And your knives show your intent. I mean, forms follow and function, and yeah, it's glaringly obvious what you like in a knife when you look at one of your knives and what they're meant to do, and that they're a good, usable tool. And there's a lot to be said for that.
I was looking in the Facebook group, and up at the top, Jarrod, there's like a wallpaper thing or header photo with a bunch of your stuff that somebody put together. And yeah, there's a very diverse set of stuff in there, right? Like lots of different shapes and designs. Like Sean said, obviously all very purpose driven, but
Right. And I don't do a lot of kitchen knives, but every now and again I'll make one for somebody. Just if they really want one, I try to shy away from that kind of thing because I don't think I'm that good at it. I like to stick to the outdoors and tactical type stuff. And in the last 3 or 4 or so years, I've had a lot of influence from Filipino martial arts type knives, and you can see that in some of our designs. I've got a brother of mine, Michael Elliott, that designs for me, and most of his designs are going to be from that influence.
that's cool. I said Facebook group. I should tell people what that is. So if you are on Facebook, there's a Facebook group called Gunfighter Customs. And yeah, you can go there and there's lots of pictures and conversation, and it looks like giveaways, all kinds of crazy stuff going on in there.
Yeah, we have a raffle once or maybe 2 or 3 times a month, and for those guys that do the raffles, every couple months or so, I'll make up a knife and do a giveaway for the ones that haven't won anything. I just like to do that, give back to the guys that are given to me.
Very cool.
Yeah, classy.
Okay, so your dad is Mike Franklin.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We should go ahead and talk about that elephant that's in the room.
Let's lay that out.
All righty. So yeah, my dad is Mike Franklin of Hog Knives. He's also made under M.H. Franklin, and some of his knives are marked Franklin made. So, over 50 years, he's put out a lot of knives. And
yeah, more than a few.
so, I mean, I got my start in knives due to him, primarily. I would, when I was, 10 or so, I would just go out to the shop to see what he's doing, and I would just hang around and just be dying to touch one of these machines, that were just so cool to me. So I would wait till he was done grinding, and I would pick up a scrap off the floor, and while the machine was running down, I would run over there and stick a piece of G10 up to it and make some dust. And eventually that turned into him being like, all right, man, if you're going to be out here, you might as well be making something. So, and he started teaching me, and by the time I was 12, I was actually making my own knives. They were very, very simple. You could kind of tell they were made by a kid, but they worked.
Yeah.
And there are, I couldn't tell you how many, but there are quite a few knives roaming the world with the name Little Hog on, or not little, but Lil Hog on there, and that was my beginning in the knife game.
Very cool. So yeah, it's kind of hard not to be in the shop at some point.
Oh yeah,
when it's what your dad's doing, right?
It was inevitable. I think I don't think I didn't have a chance at being much else.
Well, I mean, for the longest time, it was connected to the house too.
Yeah. The first house I can remember really being at, the shop was right in the basement, and I was too little to go down there. So to me, it was like this dark dungeon type thing that Dad went down to, and I wasn't allowed to go down there. But as I got older, we had moved out to the house where Sean come and visit us, and the shop was just 100 yards from the house.
So like you said, the machines were an attraction to it. Did you... so this is one of those things, right? Different people have different experiences, and that's one of the cool parts about the show, right? Is everybody comes at this from a different direction. And in your case, it's kind of in the family, right? And so I would guess, because your dad made knives and because of where you live, you probably had a knife in your pocket pretty young or on your belt, right?
Oh, absolutely. I can't remember a time that I didn't have a knife. So, I mean, I want to say I probably got my first knife around 6 or so. Yeah. I mean, maybe even younger, and not just a little like collectible thing to put up on a shelf. I mean, I'm talking, a big knife that I would go out to the woods and cut down trees with.
Right.
Yeah, so knife.
Right.
Yeah. That's the majority of my childhood was spent, with several knives on, just roaming around the woods, destroying stuff. That was my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's every kid's favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
Is destroy some shit, right? Given an implement to destroy, you're in.
Right. And my dad saw my propensity for destruction, and when he started his hog knives line, that was the intent for those knives were to be, a cheaper price and made to be used and beat on. So whenever he would come up with a new model, he would give it to me and he would say, "Go destroy it." And right. I would work on it for days and days and days and bring it back to him and show him what I'd done. So that was really cool. That was really neat.
Yeah. Torture tester.
Yes. There were actually some brochures that he put out with pictures of me as the tester, and showed pictures of the knives that I'd thrown through a piece of 3/4 inch plywood and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was quite an upbringing.
I bet.
Okay, so we have the time frame there. You're a kid, you're working in your dad's shop here and there, you're cranking out under the Little Hog name, which, man, I'd completely forgot about that. But now it's just like boom, click, and I remember what the logo looks like and everything. But you stepped away from making for a while. So where did you go, like after high school, once you graduated from high school?
I had when I was 17, I had already signed up for the Marine Corps. I was in Marine Corps ROTC in high school, and then of course 9/11 happened. And I was already signed up, so that just kind of sealed the deal. I was going. So I joined the Marines. I went to boot camp on September 9th of 2002, which was the year I graduated. I did my 4 years and got out. and I went to Florida to go be a motorcycle mechanic at the Motorcycle Mechanic Institute, and ended up getting my girlfriend pregnant. So it didn't seem like a good idea to try to raise a baby while I was so far away from home and not making any money. So I decided I was going to re-enlist in the Marines, and so I did. And I went back in 2008. So I was only out for about a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
So in my last 4 years, I ended up getting injured. I ruptured a disc in my cervical spine, and so by the time my enlistment was up, I was pretty much done with my enlistment, and I couldn't re-enlist, so I was medically retired in 2012.
Okay. When you went, I think you mentioned when you were in your first stint in the Marines, you were a tanker.
Right. Yes, I was at 2nd Tank Battalion for both of my enlistments.
Okay. And were you like getting deployed in a tank, or were you involved in working on tanks?
Yes, I was actually a tank mechanic. So wherever tanks go, they have to have a mechanic,
right?
Pretty well nearby. We don't crew the tanks themselves, but we have a vehicle that's called the M88A2 Hercules, and what it is it's a big tracked vehicle, of course, and it is essentially a tank tow truck.
Yeah.
So
right.
When a tank goes down, you can go hook up your tow bars to it and drag it out of there. And so in 2005, I deployed to Fallujah, Iraq, and throughout that deployment, I would either be on the 88 serving as the 88 crew driver, or I would be on a Humvee gun truck serving as the 50 cal gunner, or the M249 dismount gunner. I was a saw gunner.
Okay.
For the deployment.
Wow.
So I did a lot of different things while I was in Iraq. Essentially, any time we were outside the wire, we had tanks, and it didn't matter if I was on a truck or the 88. If one of the tanks needed something, there was always a mechanic on hand, and that was really cool, I thought.
Yeah, that is cool. We have a friend and listener named Tom who's going to love hearing tank guy stuff. He's an old school tanker himself.
Nice.
Hey, Tom, how you doing, bud? Probably heard that in an airport. So.
Yeah, in an airport or in the air on an airplane. He gets around the country a lot. That's very cool. It made me wonder about doing tank support as well because of your entrance into motorcycle mechanic, right? Like, there's probably a segue there somewhere, right? Or a connection.
Yep.
Makes sense. So where does it all go from there? So you went back into the Marines, got hurt, sounds like, right?
Yep.
And left on a medical in 2012, you said, right?
That's correct. Yes. Well, from there, I ended up back home and kind of at a dark point in my life, had no purpose. And, it's happening a lot with our generation. All the guys that were in the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War, coming home and getting out and having no purpose. So, for a while I just kind of floated around and didn't do much with my life. And that led me down a dark road. And, I was a pretty bad alcoholic. So around 2016 or so, I was like, all right, I gotta do something with my life. Like this is not it. And I eventually started making knives again, and that gave me a purpose and gave me a reason to quit doing all the bullshit I was doing and get my shit together.
Yeah, well, good for you.
No, dude, super proud of you. I mean, I know where you were. I know what you turned around, and Fuck yeah.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Keep rocking and rolling.
Yeah,
Never
easy.
And Sean was one of the guys that he's always been there for me. He's helped me out more times than I can count.
Nah.
You reckon his reputation?
Smalls, you're killing me.
He was a bad influence.
There you go.
No,
That's right.
Dude, that is the truth there for a little bit.
He was pushing me down the path.
Actually, me and you were like firing gasoline there for a little bit.
Yeah. I can only imagine.
It all shook out proper. It all shook out okay.
Yeah. We're both still alive.
Yeah, exactly.
Something to be said for that. It isn't always true.
More than a few people can say in their line of work.
Like you said, Jarrod, there's a bunch of guys that find themselves in a very similar spot to that, right? Whether it's alcohol or drugs or just straight up depression, and oftentimes leading to the other as well, right? I mean, just kind of a mess. And
Yep.
I don't know what the answer is there, but I'm glad you found a better path for sure, one way or another, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, in a way, knife making pretty well saved my life.
Yeah. Was it something that, and this was one of Tom's questions, right? Because one of his sons works in the shop with him these days and has his own stuff that he's doing as well. Did you, until you got to that point, was that ever a thought in your head that, oh, I should just try doing what my dad's doing? Or was that always just kind of his thing and you were off in your own direction?
Man, I'm glad you asked that, because for the longest time, most of my adult life, I think there was like a subconscious thing that was trying to push me away from it to, like you said, do my own thing. And there was always a desire to make knives. That never went away. It was just something that I never, I just didn't do up until that point. But yeah, I eventually found my way back to it. There were some guys that I worked with in the Marines that knew about my dad and knife making, and we had a weld shop at our battalion, and we had grinders and access to steel and stuff. So every once in a while, Mike and I would pick out a piece of steel and draw up a knife, and we'd go rough it out on the grinder and just play around with it. So he knew what I could do, and he was a big factor in me coming back to making knives. He would always hit me up every now and again, like, man, are you ever going to make some knives? Like, what are you going to do?
Right.
And we had talked about that a lot while we were in the Marine Corps, about wanting to eventually get together and work on some knives together. And it finally happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that that's entirely unusual, right? To kind of not, like you said, subconsciously or otherwise, maybe not want to just follow in the path, right? On one hand, it can feel like an easy answer when maybe you don't always want an easy answer. Or it can be like, I don't know, it's important for people to do their own thing, right? And feel like they developed something and have accomplished something. And I think in lots of cases for people, there's a shadow there, right? Whether it's musicians or artists or anything really, right?
Yep. And that was another factor, is that, my dad had hit it pretty good in the knife making world. So I always felt like if I were to see any success in the knife world, it would only be due to that, it would be Mike Franklin's son and not me.
Yep.
So I always had that in the back of my mind as well.
Well, now, dude, I was always respected how you came at it, because it would have been the easiest thing in the world for you to coattail off him and just do like these kind of Xerox copies of shit he'd already done.
Right.
But you had your own vision and you followed that vision. And dude, respect for that, because, man, there are a lot of guys out there, and I've seen it from second gen guys who are just fine straight up using their dad's templates and never having an original idea of their own.
Right.
Yeah. Which is its own kind of thing, right? I mean, we've talked about that on the show before with makers and with Tom too, where it's like part of that, on one hand, that's kind of cool, right? Like there's an idea of a legacy, right? Especially a brand legacy, if that's the path you want to go down. But I think a lot of times that doesn't feel like the path, right? It depends on the person, but I do think it's cool that, like when I look at even just this kind of splash page on your Facebook page, I can see Franklin in there, right? But there's no doubt. But I can also see a bunch of really cool stuff in there that's different, right? And it has a different feel to it. And that was one of the questions that Tom would have asked if he was here, right? Is how do you go about that? Are you consciously trying to differentiate, or are you more on the side of, I'm going to draw something that looks like something I want to make, and if it comes out close to what Dad's doing, it comes out close, and if it doesn't, that's awesome too, right?
I think in the beginning, I thought about that a lot, and I tried to fight making anything like Dad did or what I'd seen Sean do. I kind of got over it. It's just like there's only so many shapes you can make a blade. There's only so many ways you can grind it. I'm just going to make knives that I like and see where that goes. And again, with that whole thing, I've come to embrace it a little bit more. I'm not trying to buck the tiger and be different than my dad, because he made some goddamn outstanding knives. Right. So if anyone was to compare my knives to his, I'd be honored by that.
Sure. Well, you can bite off Sean's shit. Lots of people do that.
Oh yeah, I am sure.
It's a cottage industry nowadays.
Heck yeah.
You got a question, Sean, or anywhere you want to go with this?
Yeah, man, other than your dad, who are some guys whose work has really influenced you? What are the knives that you still enjoy, that speak to you, and that, you just can't get out of your head?
Well, man, at the risk of sounding like the world's biggest kiss ass.
Don't say me.
Kiss ass.
You know it's you.
That ain't what I was fishing for.
I know.
I'm talking about people who are better than me.
Fuck, man. I don't know. I don't know any.
Oh, boy.
I certainly appreciate that.
Not this. I mean, to be honest with you,
I feel dirty from this conversation, but go on.
I know it. It's awful. I kind of had my head stuck in the sand for a long time, and I won't say intentionally, but I just wouldn't go seek out new makers and stuff like that. I kind of wanted to keep my brain old school, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure that's probably not the best way to go about it, but
dude, I think it's working for you. I think your knives have a really cool, man, I don't want to say throwback aesthetic, but they've got a little bit of an old school flavor to them that I really, really enjoy.
Awesome.
And,
awesome.
And part of it's just because of, when you were coming in and really cutting your teeth, everything was about functionality. Everything was about, usable tactical cutlery / fighting knives. And just, does it work? Does it work form over or function over form all day? And, user grade was where it was at. And you're not trying to do pocket jewelry, and you're not trying to do the fanciest shit going. And man, it really works for you. And to be honest with you, it's kind of refreshing to see from a maker.
Good. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Hey, dude, I just call it like I see it. I mean, your shit's straightforward and it's useful.
Yeah. I just joined the Facebook page today, right? So I could go through and look at some of the work a little closer before we recorded. And yeah, there's some very cool patterns in there. I really like the Malice. I think it's
that's a nice little design. I like that little guy. It's a very useful little thing, especially EDC and self-defense. I mean, if you're looking to carry a small knife, to fixed blade, it's hard to beat that little guy.
Yeah. I'm a sucker for a blade with a nice belly, and I really like that. I like the tapered handle, and I like the finger grooves. Yeah, like you said, it just seems like it would be a really handy knife. I've not handled one in person, obviously, but I really dig that shape. The Gambler, I think, is another one I saw.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Bigger knife, it looked like in the picture.
It's a little bit bigger. Yeah, it's about 8.5 inches, I think.
Right. I like that a lot. And then I didn't get that far down before I saw kind of your rendition of the sharp finger, which I thought, oh, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah,
is
man.
that not a wicked cool fucking knife?
I do like that a lot. Yeah, that's, even though it's kind of an homage thing or a tribute thing,
Definitely.
it's just such a cool shape that how do you not love that?
Yeah, I've loved that blade shape, since I can remember. It's just always stuck out to me as the classic type Skinner.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, I mean, classics are classics for a fucking reason.
Right.
So is this a thing you're doing a full-time, Jarrod, or is it a part-time gig for you at this point, or what's that situation there?
I'm pretty much full-time now.
Okay.
I have a shop right at my house, so I just got to toddle right outside. I don't have to go anywhere or drive anywhere. So it's been a godsend, really. For the first several years of Gunfighter Customs, I was either working outside or in my dad's basement or at my buddy Tommy's shop.
Yeah.
I didn't have my own place. So we moved to Ewing, Kentucky in 2022, and it had a nice little shed attached to the barn that has electricity. And man, to me, that was like, an outfitted warehouse that, it was to me anyway. I'm sure if you saw it, you wouldn't think so, but that's all I needed.
Very cool. Not terribly far from home, right? How far is that from your dad's place?
Oh, he's about 20 minutes down the road. He's not too far.
That's not bad. It's nice to have family close, especially when you got little ones around.
Absolutely.
Because you need a hand, because it always happens. Always happens. What about stuff in the shop? One of the things that we'll a lot of times talk about with the maker is what they like to do or what they don't like to do, right? Folder guys hate making clips, for example. That seems to be a universal dislike. Some people like doing hand rub finishes. If Tom was on, he'd scream because he hates doing hand rub finishes. But everybody's got their thing, right? So what for you? What are the things you really, really enjoy and the things that make you crazy?
Let's see. I've always enjoyed roughing the blade shape out directly after I've cut it out. What I use to cut blades out is just a regular old angle grinder with a metal cutting wheel on it, and I just clamp my bar of steel to the workbench and go at it. And then once I've got it cut out, take it over to the grinder and rough it out. That's always been one of my favorite parts of knife making, because it's fast and I'm like an instant gratification type person. So
yeah,
to see it come into life that quickly is fun for me. One of the biggest thing that I hate is making sheaths. That is my Achilles heel. And while people have told me that I'm good at it, I just can't stand doing it.
Are you doing mostly Kydex stuff? Or are you doing leather too? Or
I do mostly Kydex. If somebody requests a leather sheath, I will first warn them that I'm not very good at leather.
Right.
But I will make a leather sheath if someone really wants one.
Right. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I think that's a pretty common one, isn't it, Sean? Making sheaths is not a fave.
Oh, hate it.
And I've heard makers on the show talk before about the process of turning it from a bar of steel into something that looks damn like a knife, right?
Yep.
Like lots and lots of steps and hard work to go, but boy, that part is like, oh, okay, I can actually see it and hold it and see kind of what's going to happen next from here, right?
Yeah, I've always enjoyed the heat treating as well. You know, being as a child, I was a pyromaniac, and any time there was a fire, I would always, use any excuse to make it bigger or to burn something that didn't need to be burned. So, the playing with the kiln is always fun.
Yeah, more typical kid behavior. I always give my son a hard time. We have a little fire pit that we used to have in the backyard, and I was like, man, you cannot not screw with that. He was like,
nope, can't do
constantly poking at the fire and turning logs over. And I'm like, man, we're just trying to chill. Why don't you just sit down and relax? He's like, but no, this is cool. I'm like, okay. So yeah, I'm familiar with that.
All right. Now, I know you and Mike Elliott collab on a lot of designs. When you guys work on a design together, how does that go? Who generally initiates, and do you pass back and forward? What's the process there?
Well, a lot of the times, if we're seeking something, like if we're saying, oh, we need to come up with something EDCable and that's got a double edge, we'll sit down and talk about it and draw it out. And a lot of the times, he's just sending me, stuff that he's drawn. And I think that's all he does is, when in his free time, he just draws knives, and he's really good at it. He really enjoys it, and I enjoy making them. He has a really, really, really deep understanding of how a knife should function and the ins and outs of what the purpose for the knife is going to be. So if we have a purpose-driven knife, between him and I, we can generally nail it pretty good.
Oh, yeah, you guys, the proof's in the pudding. You guys obviously work well together.
Yep, absolutely. And, like I said, we've been talking about doing stuff like this for 15 years.
Yeah, very cool. Was Mike someone that you met outside of the military, or was he in the Marines with you, or?
Yes, we served together at Second Tanks, and that's where I met him.
Gotcha. Is he local, or are you guys sending back and forth through email and stuff?
Yeah, we text and message each other and whatnot. But he's out of Illinois right now, but he'll be moving to Texas here pretty soon, so pretty far away. But we try to get together in person as much as possible.
Right.
Well, man, given his general hobbies, Texas is going to treat him a lot better than Illinois.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Yeah, much more accommodating in Texas, as they say.
I believe in Texas you can walk around openly with a broadsword and no one's going to blink.
There you go. There you go.
They'll come up with a nickname for you around town.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might gain a following, but nobody's probably going to stop you. So tell us about your shop. What's what kind of equipment do you have? What do you how big is the space you're working in?
I would say it's about 20 feet long by 10 wide or so. It's not very big. I've got two 2x72 grinders and one bench grinder that's been converted to a 2x48. And I've got a little Central Machinery, the little red Harbor Freight mill, and I've got a drill press, I've got the kiln, and a bandsaw, and an air compressor, and that's it. That's all I got. So it's, simple machinery and hand tools.
Well, you got the basic bases covered for sure, right?
Yeah, at some point I'd like to, get with the times and get some high-tech stuff, but we'll see where it goes.
You don't have a surface grinder?
I don't. But whenever I need one, I've got a buddy who has one.
Ah, there you go. You got a guy.
I got a guy.
That's the best way to go. If you got a guy. If you had a next machine, sometimes space is a problem, right? And guys are working with what actually fits in the shop. If you had a next machine, what would it be?
The next thing
with a budget and without a budget. I guess I'll put it two ways.
Okay.
If you're spending Sean's money or if you're spending Jarrod's money.
All right. Let's see. If I'm spending Sean's money, I'm going to buy a big old mill.
He's loaded. Don't let him fool you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been eyeballing a bigger bench mill. I don't want a big old knee mill, but I think a nice bench mill would do me good. And the very next thing I buy is going to be another VFD because I let the smoke out of mine the other day.
Oh.
So one of my 2x72s is down at the moment, but I'm going to get her back and running as soon as I can.
It's down unless you want to grind 150 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Well, man, what's your favorite materials to work with? Let's say, what's your favorite steel? Then what's your favorite handle material to go on said steel?
Man, I'm a simple kind of guy, and people ask me this all the time. If I was to make a knife out of only one steel, and that steel only, it would probably be 3V for its toughness and edge holding.
Man, he's a Kendrick Patsy. What's going on around here? This guy's a plant.
Hey, I learned from the best, man. But 3V is the shit, and I love using it. I love what it can do. I mean, I love what I've seen it do. I've made some knives out of 3V and seen them just do unbelievable stuff and just take it. Right. So, I mean, you can't ask for much more. As far as handle material goes, I'm kind of partial to carbon fiber. And, lately I've been into some, like vintage paper micarta and stuff like that. Whereas in the past, I didn't use very much micarta. It would have been more G10.
Yeah.
But, G10 is just fine. If people want G10, they can have it. I like it. It's good stuff.
Be careful with that vintage micarta thing. That can take it down its own deep dark path.
Yeah, and
Shit's expensive.
Road. Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, G10 don't get the fucking respect it deserves.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Because
I mean, it looks
it's tougher
great.
than woodpecker lips, man. And
Absolutely.
depending on how you finish it, you can get 4-5 different looks from the same piece of material.
Yep. You can bead blast it. You can buff it. You can just regular hand sand it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and each of those is going to give you a very unique and different look.
Yep.
Which is kind of cool, having some fucking options.
Right.
And it works like butter. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah.
the easiest thing to do.
Dude, you've almost got to try and burn it,
Yeah.
Yeah. Looking at your designs, I'm thinking blasted G10 sounds like a winner for a bunch of these, right? Where you want to have something to hang on to. We have kind of a, what's the right way to say it? Our makers on the shove proclivities, Jarrod.
Mm-hmm.
Sean's got one for 3V. Tom's got his for D2. So if Tom was on, he'd be booing on 3. Well, he wouldn't boo 3V. He likes 3V too.
No, I think Tom likes 3V okay. I mean, he would certainly say that it's no D2, but...
And we would all agree.
Hey, D2's fine steel. I hate I hate what the community has done to D2. It seems like nobody wants it anymore. And, I guess that's fine, but shit, D2's a fine steel.
Man, anybody who don't want it, it's because they've let somebody who's okay, it's two things. Either somebody who's never used it talked them out of it, or they had some that wasn't heat treated properly.
Right.
Yeah.
Or that wasn't D2 at all and just labeled D2.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for real.
On some cheap production knives and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It gets a bad rap, no doubt. Well, I'm glad to hear you say that. Tom will be cheering when he listens this back. He'll
Right
be very
on. I
happy.
got your back, Tom.
All right. So relatively small shop, right? Felt like a palace when you went into it. Probably doesn't feel quite so palatial after being in it for a minute. But
No, not at all. But I still have room. Like I said, I don't have that many machines. So if
Yeah.
I just cleaned all my crap up, I could put several more in there. So I hope to do that.
one of the things that's kind of become a significant reality for knife makers is the whole social media thing, right? And the fact that you have to have a presence, stronger the better, really.
Yeah.
You don't have to. It seems like you're well served to have a presence, right? And
Absolutely.
And feed that monster, which can be its own crazy, time-consuming shit show, right?
It's hard. It's hard.
It can go wrong quickly, just as well as it can serve you for relatively cheap, aside from the time, right? So what have you seen with that, and how have you been trying to work with that aspect of it?
Well, me personally, I think I'm caught in between two generations.
Yeah.
The generation that doesn't like social media and new technology, and the generation that lives on it. And this is another thing that I've maybe subconsciously or consciously fought doing, is committing to the social media presence and posting more stuff than I do. And I get busy and I just don't think about it, because it's not second nature to me to just think, oh wait, I should post this. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
I got to kind of actually think about it and go, oh shit, I need to probably post something. I haven't done anything on the group page for a week.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would like to buckle down and get out there more and start posting some stuff. I need to update my Instagram. I have one. It's just pretty outdated. I've got some newer pictures up there, but nowhere near what I need to do. Nowhere near what some of these other guys are doing. I mean, some of these other guys' pages are just really, really well done, and they got so many people that follow them online. It's really crazy.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot, where the four of us will send pages back and forth to one another, and of just shit that comes across, right? Like if you're in the Explore tab of Instagram, which can be its own black hole of time, right?
Yeah,
you'll come across something, it's like, wow, okay, that's cool. And you click on it and then ask yourself, who the fuck is that? Never heard of that person. And they're doing either really good work or oh my God, that's awful.
It seems like every time I go look around on knife stuff, I come across a maker that I've never seen before, but they have just, they've been killing it. And I'm like, wow, there's just so many makers out there now that have really, really nice stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably just as well that you're not trying to make it work in the kitchen knife world, because man, that is deep these days. There's a lot of dudes making kitchen knives.
Yeah.
It's a tough road to go down. I think from talking to, Tom, I know has been on this campaign for a while now to try to do a really good job with his social media. And I think he does. I think he mostly focuses on his Facebook group. I know he posts on Instagram as well, but that's, I don't know. It's like a thing, right? It's like this time baggage you got to carry around to try to make sure that you're spending the time you need to get that done in order to build your audience, right? It's just become the reality of it anymore.
Yep. And I mean, you can see when you're putting in the time on your social media, you can see the engagements. You can see people are commenting more and coming back to your page and looking more. It's just hard to stay in that mindset to keep on it. And I'm good at letting things go and forgetting about stuff. So it's just one of those things I need to work on.
Yeah. Well, there's clearly a right amount to be engaged doing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Easy to do too much, easy to not do enough.
Yeah. I don't think I have any risk of overdoing it, but I'll try to do it just the right amount.
Right. So you were at Blade Show this year, right?
Yes.
How did that go, and what was your experience like at Blade in 2024?
Oh man, it was eye opening. That's for sure. The last time I had been to a Blade Show was with my dad, where he was selling knives, and I can't remember exactly what year it was, but I want to say it was like 98. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it'd been a long, long time since I'd even been to a dedicated knife show, not just a gun knife show.
Yeah.
Just the sheer size of it was insane. The small room was where I was at, and that room itself was bigger than the whole Blade Show used to be.
Yeah.
So I was just blown away by that. The amount of people that were there was just really awesome. It was really awesome to see that many people coming out to see knives, and especially in today's world. So that was inspiring to see all those people there. We ended up selling 3 knives, so I was thrilled with that, and we got a lot of exposure. Talked to a lot of cool people. Even made it on some YouTube channels and a podcast, and just it was really, really it was really awesome, and I think it did a lot of good for Gunfighter Customs just being there.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Depending on kind of where you are in the demand curve, right? It can make a huge difference. Like you said, just being able to talk to people face to face and answer questions and tell them about what you're trying to do, right?
Yep.
Direct one-on-one kind of stuff is super important.
And I've always viewed the show thing as, planting seeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we didn't do our Blade recap yet with Michael and Tom. But what was your read, Jarrod, about that second room and feedback you heard from other makers who were back there? Last time I was at Blade Show, it's been a couple years or a few years now, before COVID. That was still called the new room, right? It was like this new space. I think it might even have been. Does this sound right, Sean? When we talked to David Boy, was it like the first year that they had done that room, or second time maybe even?
Dude, it was either the first or second year. I can't remember, but it was brand spanking new.
Yeah. And I was surprised at how much traffic was back there. I know initially people felt like, oh man, we're not getting the same kind of traffic we would in the main room. But the feedback it seemed like I got was that it was picking up back there. Were you happy, Jarrod, with the number of people that made by?
Yeah, man. It was, Friday was a little slow.
Yeah.
In the beginning. And then once people had, been in the big room for a while, the traffic started picking up in the little room, and man, it was pretty steady, and it wasn't like frantic and overwhelming. It was just a nice, steady flow of people. Yeah. And Saturday that picked up a little bit more, and there was some bunching at tables, and people having to press by each other, but even that wasn't too awful bad. But I thought that the little room had a really good flow of traffic.
Yeah. It had kind of a nice feel in that second room, I thought. Just the vibe there was nice, right?
Yeah.
The main room's kind of crazy.
The main room was wild.
Yeah, it's crazy, and there's this super, not that there isn't diverse stuff in the back room, or the second room, but the main room is like everything from, case knives, historic case knives, to Bob Loveless knives, to swords, to bucket of swords, to customs, all of all shapes and flavors, right? So there's a lot going on in that one space.
Yep.
I'm glad you had a good show. It's it's nice to talk to people and hear those words firsthand, right? Like, what do they like? What about what they're holding, right? What would they do different if they were ordering one? What would they want to do? That kind of stuff, I think, probably is really, really good feedback for someone doing this stuff.
Do you have any other shows lined up, or is Blade next year going to be your next show?
As far as I know, Blade Show next year will be the next one that I do, and unless something that I don't know about yet comes up. But I'm open to the possibility of something coming up. But yeah, as far as I know, Blade will be the main focus for next year.
I would think the Nashville thing might be an interesting one, right? Isn't there there's a Nashville show, right, Sean? Didn't Steve do one? Delac?
Yeah, pretty sure so. Or he's not taking that back to Jersey, has he?
Well, I think he has a Jersey thing going on, but he still has the Nashville show. Let's see, November 22nd, 23rd this year.
Okay.
That could be an interesting one because it's not a horrible drive.
No, Nashville would be easy.
Yeah, you don't have to fly and all that stuff. I don't know if he has tables, but that would be one to look up, Nashville Custom Knife Show, just before Thanksgiving.
Right on. Yeah, I'll check that out.
And that show is good. Steve's shows are good. There's there's a nice cross section of people at those shows. There's usually decent money in the room. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they're sort of a more focused collector, I would say, than random people at Blade Show. Is that a safe way to say it, Sean?
Very, yeah.
Those kind of shows. So smaller for sure.
I think it would put him in front of people that it would be beneficial for him to be put in front of.
I think so.
Right on. I'll check that out.
Any place you don't have to fly or ship knives to or jack around with that is a winner.
Yeah.
Or drive ridiculous number of hours. At least for me, driving a Blade Show. It's like, oof. Always hurts my feelings when I start on the road. I know I'm in for a ride from Michigan to Atlanta. What else you got, Sean? Anything else you wanted to hit on?
Oh, yeah. Now, I know we can ask Jarrod about what his favorite movie knives are.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a classic question. I got a preview, but let it rip, man.
Well, let's see. First and foremost, I got to do it. First Blood Rambo.
Of course.
Has to be done.
I think that was probably... You also got to factor in that at the time I saw Rambo First Blood, I'm like, I don't know, 7. So, I'm really young. And to me, that knife was just the coolest thing going. And like I told Mark the other night, a couple years later, my dad came home with a Jimmy Lyle Rambo knife. I mean, the knife. And I got to hold it in my hands and play with it. So
that's so cool.
Oh yeah, dude, it was beyond cool. It was awesome.
File that under cool shit you get to do because your dad is a
yes, absolutely. Yep. And you can't explain that to your 10-year-old buddies at school.
Right.
They're like, what the hell are you talking about, man?
Right. You sound like you're full of shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sure nobody believed me, and I tried to tell everybody.
Right. Who wouldn't at that age?
Yeah.
Shit, I wouldn't. I'm like 50-something. I'd be cackling like a little kid, man. Like, yeah. Oh, shit.
Let's see. My next obsession for movie knives was from the movie Sniper with Eck knives. So
yeah,
nice deep cut on that one.
Yeah, man. Tom Berenger's knife, where he cuts the dog tag out of his spotter's boot. Shit, I can't think of the model name now, but man, I obsessed over that knife, and my dad ended up getting me several Eck knives over the years that I still have. So that, those have always been near and dear to my heart.
It's good choices.
Yeah, I mean, that's I like that one. We haven't had that one mentioned, but that's solid.
Right on, man.
Tom's a sucker for the Ek Commando.
Heck yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's that knife's been talked about on the show many times. Yeah, both the Ek knife, I'm not sure, has come up as a movie knife favorite. We've talked about it a bunch on the show, but that's, like Sean said, yeah, that's a deep cut. I think the Rambo thing is such an influential piece of pop culture on so many people that we've had on the show. Just undeniable, right? That so many people just get excited about that and turned on by it. And, whether it's run around in the backyard or somebody who's making stuff and seeing that and going, oh shit, that's cool. I got to make something like that. Huge influence on the whole industry. What about one of the questions we used to ask, and I'm not sure we've asked in a minute, and you can't say your dad, sorry, or Sean, because you've already kissed his ass enough.
Okay.
Who in knife history would you most like to spend a week with in the shop?
Ooh.
Yeah,
Man.
no, dude, this could be any point in time in history.
Yeah, you got time machine.
You've got
sitting
like
in
a
the-
Wayback Machine. Yeah.
Damn. That's a tough one.
No pressure. That's a hard one to spring on somebody.
Yeah,
but
damn.
we used to ask it all the time, and we haven't in a minute. I like the question though.
What I'm thinking back to is just the thousands of stories that Dad's told me about old school knife makers. I don't know, man. I think I might have to call up Jimmy Lyle and see what his shop was like, and the making of the Rambo knife and stuff like that.
Right. From his perspective, how did it actually happen and come together? Yeah. That would be.
I think
fascinating.
that'd be nice to know. That'd be to get inside his head and see where that came from.
Right. We're gonna have to amend this question, Sean. We should probably ask, who in knife history do you most like to spend a week with in the shop who also cannot kick you out? Because I think there's some knife makers that have been picked on that question that would probably not really like have someone random show up in their shop, start asking a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah.
What, maybe the last kind of fun question. If you were going to trade a blade, right? Like you make something for them, they make something for you. Again, time machine style. What would you do? Who would you trade a blade with, and what would you want to get from them?
Who? And I can't use Dad or Sean, right?
You could, I guess.
Well, let's see. And we're talking straight up trade.
Yeah.
No boot.
Yeah, no boot.
No boot.
Nothing on the back end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would probably have to hit Sean up for a hexie.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you, man.
You can't miss with that.
Nope, you sure can't.
All right. You got anything coming up that you want to talk about? Any special projects or things you're getting ready to do that you want folks at home to hear about, know about, whatever?
Let's see. The only big project I have going right now that I'll be finishing up in the near future it's a this monstrosity that Mike and I call the Violator.
Yeah.
It is our Tertia model, but it's got a big wicked handguard added to it and an extra blade at the punyo, or the butt of the knife. So it'll have a 15-inch blade, genunting, and then an additional blade underneath your hand. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's something I've been working on for a while, and I just haven't had time to fully dedicate to it. But it's going to be out there soon enough. But it would be for like the most extreme kind of guys. This this thing is danger. It's just danger.
Yeah.
To any and all involved, actually.
Yeah. Is there any pictures of it in your, did you have it at Blade Show to show people?
I did not. It's not quite ready for that, but
Okay.
I will send you a picture of it. I took some pictures specifically of it in case this kind of question came up.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to see that. We've done a couple of episodes where we picked some pretty crazy stuff, and it sounds like it might fit in that category.
Yeah.
A 15-inch blade and another blade. That's,
Yeah, it's going to be wild.
Wild is good. We're fans of wild.
Indeed. The more outside the box, the better.
That's right. That's right. What about you, Sean? I know you heard the clock ticking in the background when I asked about the date for the Pacific Northwest show. How are you looking?
Dude, I got one more build to finish up, and then I got to lock tight and get everything shipped to Billy,
Nice.
book a car, and that's as prepared as I'm going to get.
Yeah. Awesome. I got a couple things I'm trying to finish up, and then I think we have our trip pretty much all booked. Oh shit, Jarrod just sent me this picture. Dude, that's pretty wild.
Right?
That's pretty wild. So it's like a two-hander.
It can be, yes, absolutely. We shortened the cutting edge on the blade so that you could get a double hand on there.
Wow. And that's going to be sharp at the back too?
Yes, that's actually going to be double-edged, so it's going to be sharp on both sides.
We have a friend that's passed now. He would have fucked himself up with this.
Oh yeah, man, I've cut myself on it several times, and it's not anywhere near sharp.
I can only imagine. So we'll put this. If you're all right, we'll share a picture of this in the Facebook after we drop the episode. And
Absolutely.
Or if you're not in the group, you should join it so you can share a picture of it. But yeah, when it's done, this will make it into a future episode.
Hell yeah. I'd be honored.
It's like, so for folks at home, we're looking at a 1 or 2-handed, I'm going to call it a short sword or long knife, and with a blade catcher, right? I assume that's what the feature is. Blade catcher and kind of a nut guard type thing, trench knife style almost.
Yep.
And then, kind of a little double-edged, not that little, big old double-edged hook blade at the back. I wish Tom was on. This would have Tom's eyeballs spinning in his head.
Oh, yeah, he would be flipping.
Yes. What are you making out of? 3V.
Yep. You already know.
Excellent. I dig it. I'm really interested to see this once you get it finished up.
Heck yeah, man. I'll shoot you a pic as soon as it's done.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jarrod, you got anything else you want to hit on? Or I think we got through our list of stuff to talk about.
Man, I guess the only thing I would have is I just wanted to give a shout out to some people. And
oh yeah, please do.
I'd like to give a shout out to my fiance. Without her, I couldn't do anything like this. My fiance Megan, and of course my dad Mike Franklin. Without him, I wouldn't be here doing this.
Right.
My good friend Sean. Without him, I wouldn't be here either. Same goes for Mike Elliott, David McCall, and all the guys at Combat Warrior Academy. My buddy Tommy, who let me work out of his shop for almost a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I know I'm leaving people out, but all those people made it possible for me to be doing what I love to do.
Good on you for shouting some people out, man, because I don't think many in this thing have gotten there by themselves 100%, right?
No, I definitely wouldn't be here on my own.
Well, awesome. All right. Well, thanks to our friends on Patreon, the guys at Giant Mouse, Bob and Suze Terzola, the Pacific Northwest guys. The show's right around the corner. And the folks at Knife Joe, we appreciate all of your support for helping us keep this show going and giving us a chance to talk to folks like Jarrod and learn his story and share it all with you. So we always have stuff in our Facebook group, so join us there. And I like to think we're fairly engaged, aren't we, Sean, in the Facebook group?
Yeah. Especially with topicals, man.
We try to be. But, and yeah, check out Jarrod's stuff at Gunfighter Customs on Facebook. You can find his Facebook group, and on Instagram at Gunfighter Customs. Boy, there's a bunch of variations on that kind of name, but
yeah, after the Blade Show, I had another company that had Gunfighter in the name and said that someone had reached out to them asking about a knife, and that they were trying to figure out if I was the guy. And I was like, yep, that's me.
So at Gunfighter Customs on Instagram. And yeah, we had a funny story about that when we first started the podcast, and we had the website markofthemaker.com, and we had some nice folks in the bourbon business reach out and try to squeeze that away from us. And we respectfully said, no, thank you, which was kind of funny. So we should have negotiated a better deal. That's where I'm getting at, Sean.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
We could have had some bourbon to sling. They offered to throw a party for our friends at Blade Show. Can you imagine how that would go, Jarrod?
A lot of bourbon at Blade Show.
Free bourbon.
Awesome.
In a closed bar with a bunch of our friends. That would be fun. And there would be dudes rappelling out of helicopters to help sort that situation out, I'm sure, before it was all said and done.
Yep. Need lots of Band-Aids.
Yeah. No doubt. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and we will talk to you next time. And thanks again, Jarrod, for taking the time to chat with us, man. We appreciate you.
Man, thank you guys for having me. It was it's an honor.
Oh, pleasure's ours, man. Thank you.
To learn more about our makers, you can find Tom Crine on the web at crineknives.net, in his Facebook group, Crine Knives, or in his Instagram account at Crine Knives. For Michael Birch, check birchtreeblades.com, Facebook group Birch Tree Blade Works, or Michael's Instagram at birchtreeblades. For myself and the Raygun Bead Project, we're on the web at raygundivision.com. We have a Facebook group called Raygun Division, or my personal Instagram at msteiner. For those interested in photos, references from the show, or some discussion about the show itself, you can find us on the web at markofthemaker.com, in a Facebook group called Mark of the Maker, or on our Instagram at Mark of the Maker. Last but not least, the ultra cool and haunting background music we use for the show is a piece called Noir Guitar by Stevie's Amp Shack, found at the Free Music Archive and licensed under Creative Commons CC BY 4.0. Thanks for listening.